part of the blog talks about what does badness look and feel like. So this is like, how do you identify these types of malicious contracts? So the approval contracts, I kind of put it under this because I'm not sure if it fit anywhere else. But they also, it could be in a thing where you get a prompt from MetaMask or something, you go to a website and it says, sign this transaction. So you do this, if you ever use Uniswap to trade and maybe OpenSea and other stuff, a lot of times you need to sign transactions in order to trade certain coins or let them do, approvals or transactions on your behalf. So you need to be very, very careful when you do that you're actually talking to the right website. Again, if there's any kind of red line through it, or your browser is telling you something crazy on the address, super, super double check these things. You're talking to the right website, you're talking to the right DApp, that it is the right one and it hasn't been a hacked website or a malicious URL or something. Because if you do sign transactions, there are attacks where they can take stuff from your wallet. And here's one of the threads that came up. Did you know a simple signature in MetaMask can drain your wallet? So again, the meme is go to a website, it'll drain your wallet. It's not actually true. You can't just go to a website and then all your money's gone. But when you go to websites, what usually happens is you start clicking buttons. Maybe something pops up. It asks you for approval, asks you to sign something, whatever. Oh yeah, I want to use the website. Let me just do it. Be very careful and don't just jump the gun. Don't just click, because you could have went to something that looks like a website that you're familiar with, but it's not the right one. So the best way to do it is, and we'll come back to this in a second, but the best thing to do, if you can double check the contract address, let me go through. So I'll talk about it here. Go through and check the contract address MetaMask shows you with the legit contract address on Etherscan. So if you go to a website, you're interacting with the DApp, it wants to talk to MetaMask, it wants to talk to your wallet. One of the best ways you can get around getting attacked and wallets drained, all this stuff, is to go to Etherscan. First, find the legitimate contract address. Maybe that's on Etherscan. Maybe they have a verified button or approval or check mark or something beside it. Or go to the Twitter official, the official account, stuff like that. And get the contract address, put it into Etherscan, and then take that official contract address and compare it to the one that MetaMask is telling you wants to get approvals or sign something or wants you to interact with in some way, and make sure they are the same. If they are not the same, you're not talking to the legit contract. What do you think happens if you're not talking to the legit contract? You're talking one that's not the one you want to talk to. And that could be the one that wants to take your money. So simple signature in MetaMask can drain your wallet. This is interesting because they kind of go through it here. Quite a new when Joe noticed, almost 500K of USDC left his wallet. That is a horrible feeling if that happened to anyone. Assuming he's not a billionaire. Maybe it doesn't feel that bad if you're a billionaire, but to most people, that is a lot of money. And then, Joe was confused. Joe was probably good with security overall. They didn't know, he didn't know like what happened. Why would all the money be gone? And things like that. And this kind of goes, I'll post a link in the chat too, so you can follow along. I'll get to chat in just a minute. And if you're asking questions, I will queue them. I just want to get through this one real quick. Appreciate it, everyone. Share the link, by the way. Tag me on Twitter, share the link, retweet, all that good stuff. Because we will be giving away some an NFT in a bit. So it kind of goes through the technical stuff too, the different functions that are used, and this stuff. I know if I explain this, it's kind of go in one ear and out the other to a lot of people. But the moral of the story is they went through line by line of how this actually happened. Basically, they made an approval, they signed a transaction to a contract that wasn't a legitimate contract. And I guess they signed the transaction. It was like grant unlimited spend to USDC, something like that. And that can happen. So like clicking one button. So there's no go to a website, steal all your money, but there is a go to a website, click one button and steal your money. So think of it that way. So to the common internet user, that may be the same thing. But I just, as a security person, I always kind of cringe when people say, oh, go to a website, it'll drain your wallet. Not quite the case, but yeah, it is that one extra step. So especially if you're going to a website, I say again, if you're going to a website that you go to all the time, maybe it's Uniswap, maybe it's Matcha, maybe it's, some DApp, maybe it's websites that we use a lot, the iCoast app, the Hex app, stuff like that. If somebody sends you to a website that's either hacked or a website that's fake and trying to look like the real one, use Etherscan, compare the addresses, or use their wallet, or use a wallet that you do not care about. Don't do anything serious with your wallet that has money in it until you double check these things. So that's one that goes through it. And then the other I'll drop in the chat is really interesting too for the technical side of it, how this stuff works. Can your wallet be drained? Something else? Yes. So this came across an advertisement for NFT drainer tool site. Wow. I wonder if that's actually like a site that's talking about this stuff. No transactions are approved. They only sign a simple message. Yeah. That's a good point too. It's not just approving a transaction. That's the comments, when we talk about these things, it's like, don't approve transactions that you're not sure about. Yes, that's true too. But this one, it's not even a transaction approval. It was, they signed a message. They signed something that could make something else happen. And yeah, that led to money being able to get stolen. He goes through the code, and I went through the code a little bit too, trying to find these different types of messages and stuff like that, why this would actually work that way. And it kind of goes pretty deep into Ethereum, and it goes through some really technical aspects of it to try to figure out like, why is this even possible? Of course it's usability, why it's possible, but like, again, trying to study how these attacks work and trying to figure out, is there a setting I could turn off? Is there some type of transaction that I always need to look out for? And I think in this one, it says signing logic for both eSign and personal sign point to. Now, one of these he talks about, let's see, one sec. I think one of these you can see it's like got a null something, I believe, which may be able to help you recognize these transactions in MetaMask. Yeah, can't remember exactly, but he talks about some different signs that, like, okay, if it's got these two things, then you might be able to know prefix at the beginning, must be a transaction. Yeah, so go scroll through this at your will and to read it, try to understand it and stuff. But there's some interesting notes in here on how these attacks work. But the biggest thing of all, make sure that before you interact with contracts or dApps, even if it's a website that looks like the one that you're always using, it could be a fake website, look at the contract address. Look at it, type it in a MetaMask, check the Twitter, double check the thing. Just like when you do sacrifice phases, there's multiple places where they have the one address where you would send the funds to. You should do the same thing when you're using dApps that involve you actually spending some money and using a wallet that has some funds in it, like that, ideally.